Talkin GK with Conway.
Hello everyone, it is I, Conway Fitzgerald, and welcome back to Talkin GK with Conway. Wow, what a week we've had. It's certainly uncharted territory for everybody, and I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'll just say me, being the eternal optimist, would just like to offer some lemonade out of these lemons, and because I'm in sports TV and there is no sports, that has afforded me a lot more time to tell you folks stories. So I'll look at the bright side. I'm here to keep you company. I'll tell you some more stories, and I'm looking to utilize this time in order to give you guys a little bit more content to keep you company during this time. So I hope you're all well. I hope you're all feeling great and doing great. And I just want to say a special thank you so much for all my new subscribers and everybody who's been listening and commenting and being part of this experience. Thank you very much. So, well, my first viewer comment was from Zaparjo Shinigami. Oh, I should say, it's really difficult for me to choose which comments to use because all of the comments are awesome. I welcome you guys to say whatever you think, whatever you feel. Please send me your comments, and I wish I could respond to every single one on this show, but I can't, so I have to choose some, so that's how I do it. Okay, anyway, Shinigami says, I'm hoping you don't shy away from killing popular characters, as I find stories that allow important characters to die to be more interesting. And it makes things less predictable. Fire it off, fellas. Spoiler alert, everybody dies. In this story, you may remember one of the first things that in the prologue that Ermine said to the two boys when she asked about the age of the giant killers and the order of the sacred fire was that she was the last thread. In other words, she's the only one that's still alive. So, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And for those of you who do want to worry about it, and you've mentioned that, we got a lot of story yet to go, though, okay? All right. Second question, Northwest Nerd asked Mr. Fitzgerald. Hey, I like that. Mr. Fitzgerald certainly assembled a dynamic voice cast for this, and the Foley and direction is very good. I'm looking forward to more. Thanks for sharing. It's amazing what happens when creators collaborate. Northwest Nerd, I agree. However, in terms of the cast, thank you very much, but it's just me. I am new at this, but I do all the voices. Love Peary says, looking forward to more, though I'm not sure about the background music. It doesn't seem to go with the story, in my opinion. You know, I've been waiting for someone to comment on the music for so long, and thank you, everybody who did, starting on this conversation, because I spend so much time placing the music that I just find it's really important to try to set the mood and find, music tracks that I think really fit. So this particular one was, I thought, a good fit because I chose Seasons by Cornell. And my take on it is it's about surviving as people and things pass. And to me, that's what Dan Tenuvial is all about. So fortunately, as the conversation went on, McFluffy chimed in. And McFluffy also opined on the same notion, pointing out at the 11-minute mark, which is where I inserted Seasons. But then after I had mentioned that, they both agreed. So cool. That's great. Thank you for giving that idea a chance. And I also, speaking of music, heard from J-Wing. And J-Wing writes, the Cello Guy's Thunderstruck was amazing, though. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I'm a guy who was born before the first moon landing. Yeah, I'm kind of a fossil. So you'll probably notice my song selection will be maybe a little bit more older school rock kind of a thing. That's to be expected, but yeah, I thought the two cellos, Thunderstruck, was perfect because it was instant AC/DC instrumental. So those guys are awesome. So absolutely, thank you guys for those comments. Nin Brannon writes, "I don't want to be mean. Uh-oh. The voice part is done very well, but I have some reservations about the story." Fair enough. "Elvish reproduction seems ridiculously complicated." Then I'd agree with that. "And not too conducive to their survival as a species. Also, the entire scenario with Gales seems stupidly set up on their part." Rather than respond to that, I don't want to have to fire the spoiler alert again, but I promise you I'm going to make a whole lot of sense of that when I explain exactly why that happened the way it did. It's coming. Nin, I can't argue myself because I just assume we go straight to the source, right? So let me grab my my headphones so I can hear as I use my interplanetary communications device, and we'll see if we can get the word from the source. Okay, so let's see. How does this thing work again? Right, I have to pick the correct world. Okay, and I do this, and then let's see, what's Airmine's number? Okay, let me see if I can die. 4, 6, 9er. I probably shouldn't say the number out loud, right? Because you guys would all just start calling her. Okay. Ooh, it's dialing. Okay. It's working. Though, I'm not really sure about the time difference between the known world and planet Earth. I don't know, I might be calling like at the wrong time. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh.
Who goes on this line?
Oh.
Is that you, Conway?
Airmine. Yes, it is I, Conway Fitzgerald. How are you? How's everything going on the known world?
Why are you calling me on this line? Am I to assume you've achieved the publishing contract you were after?
No, not exactly. Not yet. I haven't. But we have gotten a lot of people who are listening, and they're very interested in your story and some of the things you have to say. However, some of them have questioned some of your descriptions, particularly about elvish reproduction. So I figured maybe I'd ask for you to explain. One of my viewers, his name was Nin Brannon, and he asked why you describe it to be so difficult for elvish females to reproduce. I mean, he finds that highly unlikely that would be the case.
Right. Is Nin an elf?
Well, no, we don't. We don't have elves on my world.
Conway, I thought you told me there were no more elves left in your world.
No, in my world, we're really not 100% that there actually ever were elves. It's kind of more of about lore and legend, that sort of a thing. But I mean, in terms of reproduction, can you explain to the viewers what you explained to me maybe a little bit better? What is it like?
It is just as I told you. Sex and reproduction is a deeply spiritual experience for the elves. Humankind makes sex for fun. Human men are always eager, aren't they, Conway?
I can only speak for myself.
Every day, rain or shine. But sex is the immortal experience of being elvish. But ovulation for elvish females is a dreadful experience, physically. Imagine drinking hard liquor for 48 straight hours.
Oh my God.
Then sleeping for 4, then being awoken. and forced to drink water and eat food, trying with all your stamina not to puke it out lest you die. Mind you, you've actually been unconscious for weeks and fed for days. I don't know where Nin is getting his information from. I can only speak from my own personal experience.
Well, that's fair enough. I totally understand. I'm trying to do my best to tell the story and to imitate your voice. Some of the humans in my world don't exactly love my voice acting of you, and some say you don't sound like an elf.
And elvish females don't have nearly as large of an ass and wide of thighs as I. I've been taunted about this for years. Does this viewer also have an opinion of how sleek my figure should be?
Probably.
These humans of your world seem to have many impassioned opinions for creatures they have never encountered. How curious.
Yeah. We have lore. I mean, I try to...
Conway, you told me your friends in Hollywood were interested. I can't come there.
No.
So do your best. Tell the damn story. Your people need to hear it. We had an agreement.
Okay, right. Well, Nin, there you have it. I did my best to try to show what she had to say. You could take it up with her if you disagree, but that's all I can say about that. My last comment I'd like to share with you comes from Nicholas Schoenbeck, who writes, I hope you edit this and give credit to the artists you use to sell your work. Fair enough. I should point out that everything available on my page is absolutely free. I do not sell anything. But to your point, Nicholas, yes, absolutely. I am very ham-handed about how I put these things together, and I did find certain artwork on the internet anonymously. I wish I could do that. If you happen to know who are these original artists, I would be more than happy to give them credit for it. And, to your point, I think it's about time that I started drawing again. And that's the perfect segue to the next segment of this show, which is about my mission out to Staten Island. I have been living in and around New York City and Hawaii for the better part of a half century. And, in all that time, I have never been to Staten Island. So when I had the opportunity to go out to Staten Island to meet international comic author and comic book producer Rob Geronimo for his podcast, Talking Fantasy, for Geronimo Draws is the name of the podcast, I was thrilled to go out there and be able to talk to Geronimo about drawing and about his book, which is called Blood Realm. And I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. Now, the podcast itself is going to air on Monday, March 16th, I believe is the day. You can hear the entirety of it right there. It's going to be on Geronimo Draws YouTube page and featuring yours truly. I should say that there are a couple of spoiler alerts in there, but enjoy it, and I'm going to share some of the clips with you now.
Greetings, travelers, and welcome to the Geronimo Draws Podcast. This is Rob.
And I'm Mike.
And in this episode, we are joined by a special guest, Conway Fitzgerald.
Hello.
How are you? So
wonderful to be here, Geronimo.
Oh, well, happy to have you.
Yeah, we're excited.
So today's topic is fantasy. The importance of fantasy. Conway Fitzgerald is a fantasy author, and also he has a podcast. What is the name of a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'm creating a YouTube channel, and it's just called Conway Fitzgerald.
Right, that's right.
And the story is the giant killers that I'm pushing right now.
And you're narrating the story in the chapters?
All the voices. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's
it sounded awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for listening. I'm trying to make it sort of really kind of old timey audio drama, like kind of like War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I'm adding like Foley and music and
Right.
sound effects. I'm very ham-handed in how I do this.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I'm not going to try to sell it, but at the same time, I'm just trying to attract people to the story. And
Of course.
what I'm imagining.
That's the beauty of today's mediums with YouTube and podcasts. It goes back to like the old radio shows. It's really crazy, like The Shadow.
Yep.
All that stuff. Even Superman.
Yep. And it was interesting because I thought, I was thinking of ways to advertise it to
Right.
folks, and my thought was, hey, while you're commuting to and from work, and rather than listening to the bad news
Yes,
or things that are going to
exactly.
make you crazy,
Right.
this,
Yeah.
just take yourself away to
Absolutely.
another world, and I think it's reaching some ears.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to say.
No, yeah, you certainly got the traction. And that was kind of our inspiration for the podcast, too. We always have discussions about everything from movies to games to comics, to just fantasy stories. So it was sort of, why not put it out there for other people to kind of get involved? So I could see the same attraction for your channel is, create something, create a world, and let people kind of like dive into it.
Right.
It seems like they're loving it.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And it's immersive too, because people have it over their ears. They're listening to it, and when you're doing the voices and you're getting into it, like I have lore videos too that I do on my channel, and that it makes it feel real,
Right.
And fantasy in particular, I think, is so amazing because it is escapism. It is like I said, a fantasy world, but it can mirror, our world.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so incredible about it.
As I made my way out here to my first time ever, Staten Island.
Welcome.
I've lived in and around New York my whole life, but this is my first time, and thank you for the invite.
Yes.
And I didn't get on the right side of the ferry, but I wanted to go by and get a shot of Lady Liberty. I think
Yeah,
I
right.
will on the way back.
Way back.
But I was thinking exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
When I'm showing a statue like that, which represents something to me, that was, I call it Castle Voss, which
Absolutely,
is
yeah.
this representation of that which is true and what people can look to for justice. you
Sure.
know. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, you can't miss
No.
the mirror of
Yeah.
of our own world, because that's what makes it real to people.
Exactly.
What would they do?
Right. Now, I relate to what you're saying, with your story, because with Blood Realm, I wanted to focus on the post-conquest of mankind, and now how there is a backlash, and we follow this race of goatkind who are now sieging the crumbling. Basically, it's like what the Roman Empire would have been,
Right.
and that's
then
what the human empire.
Visigoths come
Yes,
and take it over.
Exactly. That's right. It's actually, in fact, it's called the human kingdom's called Vorogoth. They inspired by that. So there you go.
They like mines.
Yes,
They
I
go-
like it. So,
You need the inspiration, right?
Yeah.
well, history.
Right,
History.
exactly. Absolutely.
History is just filled with such insane, unbelievably epic tales.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Roman history alone. It's just
Find
wow.
me one creative, storyteller that didn't find inspiration in something as a child or something from
Oh,
the
you are.
source material.
Everyone is.
I think that's I'm segueing to music briefly just to kind of make that point.
Yes.
David Bowie said, "Everyone steals."
Yes, it's true. It's so true.
As soon as you, this goes out for all those creative people out there. The sooner you get it in your head that you want people saying, "Oh, this reminds me of," the better off you'll be.
Yes.
You don't want people going, this is like nothing I've ever seen before. I think that's
No.
more of the kiss of death.
Yes,
than
absolutely.
it is a sign of something magnificent. So here it is.
Yeah.
Gosh, 35 years later.
Wow.
I have this new project that I'm doing, and my daughter is an incredible. She's a chip off the old block.
Right,
She's
right.
drawing things that are amazing. So I'm leaning on her. Hey,
Yeah.
do a drawing for me. Do a drawing for. And meanwhile, she's got a 96 average. She's in the National Honor Society.
Nice.
It's like I just feel like, what am I doing? I should be drawing again.
Right.
So I brought over some things that I'm working on. that-
Yeah, I saw them. They look cool.
I'm a pencil artist, and man, am I out of practice. But I'm hopefully, maybe you can inspire me a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of your ideas that you just think in terms of what can get me more into a groove of cranking out good stuff again.
Okay. Well, I would definitely, first off, don't overwhelm yourself. That's one of the things that people do right away. Like they're like, oh, I'm going to draw this, I'm going to do that. It's going to be all this crazy, like a crazy amount of illustrations. And suddenly they just putter out because it's too much.
Right.
They realize that they just put so much work, onto themselves, and it's like, and then you lose the inspiration.
Right.
So I would do, maybe one a week,
Okay.
and then slowly, maybe if it's twice a week, I would go baby steps first if you're not used to drawing a lot.
Okay.
But I would get comfortable drawing hands, number one. Like literally, and we have no excuse because we have a hand,
Yeah.
and we can just pose it, holding swords, holding all these different kind of
Man, I
things.
can't tell you how many times I've seen him take photos or have me take photos of his hand doing this.
Hand position.
Everything.
Right, yeah.
That's the first thing editors will look at too when you walk into a room with editors, and they're gonna look. They're like, "How's your hands?"
Well, please go and check out the podcast in its entirety. I wanted to share some highlights with you folks from that. And please stay tuned. I hope in the coming days to have even more of the giant killers produced for you so you can enjoy that. Plus maybe a short story or two. Maybe I could put that in there. But please, 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 thank you so much for listening and sharing your thoughts and comments. You are all welcome. I love you all. And I really do appreciate so much you folks taking some time to talk GK with Conway. Until next time, aloha.
This has been Talkin GK with Conway. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends.